Okay. You got everything you need? Hello?
Yeah,
You sure? You know what you're giving away?
I do.
Okay. And
Are you live?
yes, we are live for a moment, and then it's just about 6 o'clock. I got to get rolling.
Yeah.
So you
I'm
know,
giving away grips, stickers, and a poster.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
You have what's it worth? You have a what's it worth, right?
I have all that.
Okay.
You ready to rock and roll?
I am so ready.
Okay.
Joe Grossi, you're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Joe Abbate. You're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A. Thank you for joining me tonight. Susie is with me. Susie, you good over there?
I'm good.
Yeah, you got your giveaways all together and all that stuff, huh?
Yeah, it's good. I don't know why I'm not seeing you tonight.
You're not seeing me?
No.
What about now?
No.
What about no?
Yeah, it's the little camera's a little weird tonight, but don't worry about me. You worry.
I always worry about you. Can you see yourself?
I see myself.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
All right, let's leave it at that.
we're good.
Vintage Motocross Q&A live. We are we got a really good show lined up for you tonight. I got some coverage from last weekend's Northern California MX reunion. We've got some other stuff going on as well. And I want to first thank all of our sponsors. Racer X, the International Motocross Museum, Motion Pro, Bultaco East, SoCal Baco, thank you, Gary Quartz, Armor Northeast, Preston Petty Products Full Circle, and of course, Amsoil. If you want to become a sponsor of the show, let me know. We'll get you on there for $249.95 a month. That is to be a sponsor, and you get your name on the big board like Bultaco East and Full Circle and Motion Pro. Now, if you just want to have your name on the backdrop, $49.95, okay? And that's going to get you a really cool, here's what it's going to do. I'm going to jump ahead here a little bit. $49.95. Get the shirt in the color and style that you like. You get the Racer X poster, and you get an apron just like that. Now, why is this really good? Aprons are $20, shirts are $25, and that poster was discontinued in 2004. Collector's item. I only have so many left. So for $49.95, you get your name on the backdrop, just like you see behind me. And I want to thank Lou Blanchard for re-upping again. I think this is his third or fourth time, and I'm going to put Susie on the board here for just a second so you can see behind her, and you can see all the names back there, including Tim Christie, Don Zabalski, Tom Miller. Thank you for re-upping again this week. Carl Ward, Al Huey, Tyler McGregor, and Al Roof, and everybody else, including Doug Nemeth.
Lou Blanchard?
Lou Blanchard is behind me.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
So yeah, we've got some support here from our support team. Thank you for doing that. And for $49.95, you get your name up on the board, you get a shirt, you get an apron, and you get a poster. Don't forget to keep sharing the show, whether you're on Facebook or you're on YouTube. Share the show, invite your friends. Fun will be had by all.
Phone your neighbors.
Yeah, phone your neighbors. Susie said that the viewer appreciation prize tonight will be a set of grips from Preston Petty Products.
Yes.
And when Sue says it, well, that's it. That's the rule.
That's right.
Right now, we've got a Next Time Try This segment. Well, they used to be called Next Time Try This. They still are. And Roy came up with something really, really good that he sent in. And let's just add that to the stage and see what Roy is up to.
Hello, I'm Roy Vanderveur, and today let's talk about setting squish band clearance. And I'm going to start out with a way that I like to rough it in. I just like to see about where I'm at. I just take my digital verniers and just quite simply set it on the edge of the cylinder and rotate the piston through its stroke. And you can see the piston doesn't quite come all the way up to the top. And what that gives us is 1.7 millimeters. 1.7. And in the cylinder head, there's a little ledge right on the edge here. And if we measure that, we get 0.16. So I know I'm right around 2 millimeters on my total squish clearance. And that tells me whether I'm going to need thick solder or thin solder to start out my day. So in the next step, we'll take a look at how to measure this. So now that we know we needed to use the thick solder, I just simply cut 2 pieces off. Going to use a little bit of grease to hold the solder in place. Put a dab on each side. You want to go parallel with the wrist pin. Some people also like to use solder at the front and the back of the piston. I'm not going to say not to, but this is how I do it, with just 1 piece on each side. Again, straight above the wrist pin, so we get a nice balanced reading. Obviously, if the piston rocks front to back a little bit, that'll change our final squish clearance. Then the next step is we got to bolt the head on. And I'm just going to sit it on here, and I'm going to go off camera, and I'm going to bolt that down. Now that we've got the head bolted on, we're simply going to rotate the crankshaft and the piston through top dead center. And then remove the head. Okay, so I've removed the head, and I have our wire indicators that were compressed in between the piston and the cylinder head. And let's see what we get here. And I know this squish band is really wide. We're showing an actual about 2.34 on that side. And 2.49 on the other side. That is huge. I'm not sure if I mentioned it before, but any squish clearance that exceeds about 1.5 millimeters on an engine this size is effectively not a squish band head, and it's just operating as a hemispherical dome would. So we're going to have to remove some material to get this thing into spec. I happen to have the Yamaha wrench report for this model, and they're suggesting a very tight 0.75 millimeters in between the top of the piston and the squish band area. If you don't already know, the squish band is from here to here. So the piston, to be as per the Yamaha spec, needs to be 0.75 millimeters clearance between this area and the top of the piston. The reason they do that, just as the name kind of implies, it squishes all of the available mixture into the center of the dome. This way, that fuel and air is available for immediate combustion. When that kernel of a spark goes off, it's a whole lot easier to burn all the fuel as quickly as possible when it's located directly next to the spark plug. Having this area out here where the fuel and air mixture doesn't really burn until the piston is well past top dead center, it reduces the likelihood of there being detonation, because pinging and detonation usually starts out here at the edge of the combustion chamber. And that way you also don't get conflicting flame fronts, which is another type of detonation. Okay, let's take the head off and see what we get. And I hope you can see how bending the wire like that puts the solder in a position that it really can't fall back into the transfer ports or anything without using anything else to hold it into place. It's just another way of doing it. It uses a little more solder, but sometimes that's the better way to go. So let's see what measurement we got. We'll reset. and now we're at 1.6. The problem is we're still 0.9 of a millimeter or so away from our goal of 0.75. I do not mind if we don't get all the way there, but I'd really like to get this squish clearance down to around a millimeter. Here's where the problem comes in, where, okay, we've used a thin head gasket, and that's as far as we can go there. We could cut material off the top of the cylinder, but there are reasons I kind of don't want to do that. And then in the head, once we cut past this little ledge that exists here, you can keep cutting and cutting and cutting, and the squish clearance doesn't change. So we've only got a little bit more room here without cutting the cylinder to work with. So let's see. It's really tough to get an accurate measurement on this, but I've got 0.4 millimeters maybe. So if we combine those two, if I cut this off, that gets us right at about 1 millimeter. If we want to go all the way, gonna have to cut the top of the cylinder. Okay, as I try to get this squish band down to the specified clearance of 0.75 millimeters as outlined in the Yamaha wrench report, it's not as easy as just cutting the head. I decided I didn't want to have to cut the cylinder, although that's an option. I could cut the top or I could cut the bottom. I really wanted to do it in a DIY fashion where you just use thinner or thicker gaskets, but there's just not enough room to get me all the way there. So I broke down and took the head to the local machine shop, and we cut the gasket surface as far as we could. Once you get equal to the squish band, you can cut further and the compression will go up, but the squish band will not get any tighter. And it will also change the size of your combustion chamber, which then would have to be corrected in a separate function. We don't want to do that. So I took off as much as I could. I was hoping to be able to take off 0.6 of a millimeter. I was able to get 5.5. And then I loaded us up with some fresh solder, which I switched to the thinner stuff, because I know the clearance is going to be a lot tighter than where we started. And on the first pass, it was 2.35 millimeters in the beginning. And then I was able to get it down to 1.60 using a thinner head gasket. And now I've taken 5.55 millimeters further off of the head. So let's see what we get here. And this time, since we're probably down to my final measurement, I did put solder front and back plus side to side. And then we're going to check all 4 pieces of solder and see what we've got. I'm hoping for anything near a millimeter will make me very happy. We're at 0.88. So, wow, all right, let's see what we got on the other side of the piston. So that was the right side. Let's see. Left side is 0.91. Slight variation there, but that's no big deal. And then front to back. 0.89. 0.85. Man, I think we hit our mark. The fact that we're a little bit under a millimeter makes me happy. .75 might be the theoretical ideal place to be, but we're close. So that's a really good way to go. And I just wanted to put out there, when I started shooting this video, my goal was simply to demonstrate how to adjust squish band clearance using do-it-yourself methods. But as we got into it, it wasn't quite that simple. And I was trying to follow the report here because somebody has worked on the ports on this cylinder, and they did this part of the mod. They raised the exhaust port to 31.5 millimeters from the top of the cylinder. Anytime you raise a port like that, you're going to lose compression. And that further made it important to correct the head, because not only was it out of spec, it was way out of spec. We went from 2.35 millimeters of squish clearance, which is effectively ineffective. Squish band doesn't even work unless you're at about 1.5 millimeters or less. And in the end, we got it down to right around 0.8 of a millimeter. That's a good place to be. Whether it's 8 or 85, we're close enough. So that makes me happy. We're going to get this bike together, and I look forward to seeing how the customer likes it. So after final measurements, and again, our goal was 0.75 millimeters, and using mostly DIY resources. I could have used a thinner base gasket, but I didn't have one, so we didn't go there. I did have a thinner head gasket. And then for the last step, I broke down, went to the machine shop, and had what we could machined off the head. And we started with 235. The thin head gaskets got us to 160. And then the machine work on the head got us down to 0.8 of a millimeter. With 0.75 as the goal, I call this done.
Roy Vanderveer. How about that information, guys? You're only going to get that here at Vintage Motocross Q&A. I want to thank Roy Vanderveer for all the videos that he sends into us, and I will post that on the Vintage Motocross Q&A page probably after the show tonight, so you'll be able to get a look at that, maybe take some notes and do some stuff on your own, a little experimenting like that, okay? One thing I wanted to ask Roy, and if anybody else here knows the answer to this, and again, I'm asking for my own benefit. I heard Roy say a thinner head gasket, taking a little more off of the head to make that squish area a little tighter. I got a little confused when Roy said I could have used a thinner base gasket, but that didn't confuse me as much as when he said I could have machined off material at the bottom of the cylinder. Now I'm wondering, does that throw off the port timing at all? Or is it so insignificant that it really wouldn't make any difference? Just a question. I would love the answer to that as well. If somebody here knows the answer to that and you want to type that in, fine. Roy, if you're watching, maybe you can help me out with that as well. Moto Showcase is brought to you by Preston Petty Products. Be sure to visit them online at PrestonPettyProducts.com. I generally put up a slide every week and ask people to send in a Moto Showcase bike. Nobody did that this week, but that's okay. I had a little something up my sleeve. It's actually a 2-part video. Each one's about 1.5 minutes. It's not really a moto showcase, but you're going to get a good look at a 1973 Kawasaki F12M, which is a very, very rare semi-production bike, and the 450, which came out in 1974. Watch this from Ed Erdos. Pretty cool stuff. Check this out.
Today we're going to be looking at the difference between the control levers on the 1973 Kawasaki F12 M450 limited production motocrosser and its successor, the 1974 KX450. We'll start with the F12M. The F12M was developed out in Kawasaki's Santa Ana, California R&D facility, and they had a lot of American manufacturers assisting them in the development. One of them was Unifilter, who also made the Unilevers, and that's what they decided to put on these bikes, the plastic unbreakable Unilevers, levers and perches. So Unilever built these levers and then shipped them to Japan, where they were put on the bike in assembly. You can see the perches are a two-piece design with 4 Phillips head screws that clamp them on. So these were the levers Kawasaki decided to use on this limited production. About 200 were built in 1973. So that's the F12M 450 levers.
Okay, now we had that. Yeah, and I've got part 2, but did you catch us at the beginning of the show? I thought
You're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A.
Bill Grassi, I saw him last weekend. We had some fun down there at the NorCal reunion. Now, video 2 from Ed Erdos on what's some parts on the KX 450.
Now we'll look at the levers on the 74 KX 450. It was one model year, the successor to the F12M. These were fitted with the kind of typical aluminum Kawasaki levers and perches. The perches had the single bolt kind of crimping style in the back, and these were shared by a lot of the other KXs, these same levers and perches. I believe the 75 and 70, 74, 75 and 76 kicks, 250 had them. And I do believe the 125s were pretty much the same. I know the levers were the same, but the perches look the same to me, but I'm uncertain whether they're exactly the same. They had a different Kawasaki part number, but as we know, that doesn't necessarily make the part different. So there are the aluminum levers on the 74 KX 450.
There you have it. Ed Matt Erdos with some great little information there for us on some Kawasaki's on the F12M and the KX 450. You know what? We're going to get a little commercial break in here. We're going to hear from our sponsor, Motion Pro. We'll be right back with trivia right after this word from Motion Pro.
Hi, I'm Jeff with Motion Pro, introducing you to our latest digital tire pressure gauge today. Now, this has proven to be one of our staple products. It is trusted by race teams throughout the industry, as well as Dunlop tire techs. We'll first talk about the air gauge head, which has an auto on-off backlit display and large numbers, and so it's really easy to read, even in low lighting situations. It reads 0 to 60 psi with high precision down to 0.1 psi and accuracy of plus or minus 0.6 psi. Attached to the head is our trapezoid manifold, which is billet aluminum in construction and gives a nice ergonomic feel in your hand. It also gives access to our high pressure bleeder, which was designed by Motion Pro. Now moving on, we have this long air hose, which has dual swivels, and so you can get into tight areas and still get a good read at the gauge. And at the end, now included, is our Pro air gauge chuck. It engages positively onto valve cores for extremely accurate readings. So go ahead and pick one up for yourself today. It's available from dealers nationwide.
All right, there you have it from motionpro.com. They're not just as they say, okay? And don't forget, there's 20% off at Motion Pro across the board on everything except custom-made cables. Now, it is time for trivia. Everybody's favorite time of the night, right? We've got, hang on. Okay, here we go. Number one, trivia is up. See it? It's right here on the board. Okay. Trivia is brought to you by Motorcyclist Illustrated. They are on Facebook. Thank you, Mike McCook and Motorcyclist Illustrated. This is a call-in contest. Call-in contest only. You'll need the number to do that, won't you? Here it is, 925-784-2195. 925-784-2195. Operators are standing by waiting for you to call with your answer. Of course, the prize is this beautiful poster, 18 by 24, of the legendary Tony DiStefano and James Weinert. 18 by 24. It was on the cover of Racer X back in 2004. Very limited production in poster form. I've got a couple of them left here, and we're going to give away one tonight. One time again, 784-2195, 925-784-2195. In 1973, 72, 73, a young fella from San Diego named Marty Smith came on the motocross scene in Southern California, and he was out there on a rather rare feathery light from Sweden known as a Monarch. Marty did pretty well, well enough that Honda had given him a call and said, "We'd like to talk to you about riding a Honda." As we all know, and as history has it, Marty did go over to Honda in 1974 and won a 125 national championship. That left an open seat in the 125 class in 1974 on a really good bike, a production bike, but a really good one, the Monarch 125. Marty Smith rolled out there with the Honda. Who got Marty's old ride on the Monarch? You know him. He's still in the business to this day. He raced. He's been in the Trans Am Series. He's done a lot of stuff. Still doing a lot for the sport of motocross. Marty Smith goes on to Honda. This guy picks up the open seat at Monarch. Who was it? All right. In the meantime, you can call 925-784-2195. Next up on our show, Dave Borgsden, Dave's Classic Corner. Be sure to follow Dave Borgsden on Facebook, ams.com for all your parts, and Dave's Classic Corner. A little something we came up with 7 or 8 months ago. Dave's given us a lot of great content like this. What do we got, Dave?
Good Friday, everybody. This is Dave Boyston from AMS Racing. I've just been messing around, cleaning up and detailing out a couple of things I've had in storage for a long time. This is a 69 to about 71 Dalesman 125 Puch Trials bike. A lot of people have seen the 175 in Trials chassis, but this was Dalesman's first bike that they manufactured. I just replaced the fenders on it. I don't think it came with a Skyway silencer originally, which is what's on it. But I don't think it came with an open pipe either. It's just got the British chrome levers, metal profile forks. The early Puch 125 motor from like the first of the motocrossers we saw. The foot pegs are nickel plated like a lot of British stuff is around the foot peg area. A little handmade aluminum side panels, a solo seat. Definitely some Trails type gearing. That's the Puch rear hub. Don't know what that front hub is, but that is definitely the Puch rear hub. This is a pretty much all original bike other than me just cleaning it up real quick and putting fenders on it today. These are even the original tires on it, the Dunlop Sports from England. The Girling shocks look like they're right off a Husky. The Dunlop are the British tires. See the brake pedal, the brake rod, and the foot pegs used to be nickel plated. All that's sort of faded off by now. I don't know if this guard on the heat shield is extra or not, but it ain't a bad idea right there, that's for sure. Had no air cleaner. I've had this bike for, I'll bet you, 15 years. Showed up at one of the motocrosses. And look at the size of the hub. The hub is so small on the front. Trials was different back then than the way Trials are right now. But this is 69 to 71 Dalesman 125 Puch Trials bike. I just thought I'd show you something that you don't see one of these every day. There's going to be a bunch in people's garage, but You don't see many, especially with their original tires from that time. Thanks a lot. See you later. Have a good weekend.
Dave Boyden with another great video. I want to thank Dave and AMS. And don't forget, follow Dave Boyden on Facebook. He's always got a lot of great videos from car shows, from motorcycle events, and so much more. Now, let's get back to our trivia contest. Maybe you didn't get the phone number. Area code 925-784-2195. 784-2195. The question was, in 1973, Marty Smith was riding a Monarch. Honda said, why don't you come ride with us? He did that. He won a national championship. He left an open seat on a really feathery, light, and very, very fast Swedish bike named Monarch. Another hot shoe got that ride. And you know who he is. But I haven't heard the phone ring just yet. Do I have to give you a hint? Maybe you should check in with your ex. Maybe she'll know. Motion Pro. 20% off across the board. Use code MP9135. That's MP9135 for Motion Pro. We've got the Here's the Problem segment coming up tonight, right here. That's right. Call your ex. Maybe she will know. By the way,
Is that a hint?
it's a really big hint. Here's a new tool that just came out from Motion Pro. You see it? It's a wrench on the bottom here. It is angled to get to the nuts on the other side of the sprocket while you're taking out the bolt or the hep head on the other side. It's a great way not to rip your knuckles open. All right? And let's get to the first question. What do we got here? Mark Bonadillo. What is considered a low-hour bike? 50, 100, 500 hours? How can you accurately make this determination if they are not the original owner of the bike? I may have answered this question few months before, but there's people to jump into. So anybody that's out there that has the ability to type, you can type into, if you're going to buy a bike, if you're going to purchase a used bike and somebody says to you it's a low hour bike, or you're only looking at pictures online, what should you look for? For me, here are some of the telltale signs. Number one, I move the pegs. If the pins are tight, that's a sign of a low hour bike. Does it have the original tires? Find out what the original tires were on that bike. Learn how to read date codes on tires. We've done that here on the show. Roy gave us a segment on that. Learn how to read what the date codes are, and then you'll learn if those are the original tires on the bike. Gouges and cracks or big scrapes in the rims. That will tell you, again, gouges more so that the tires have been off, okay? What else? Paint on the frame. Right where your boots would be hitting, maybe on the tank on some of your older bikes, got to look at the paint. Also, get underneath there with a flashlight, look underneath the bike, look at the frame rails, okay? Shake the swing arm, shake that back wheel, see if the swing arm bushings are solid. Do the same thing on the front. Are the wheel bearings tight? Are the ball bearings tight in the forks? And look, just overall, look at the bike closely, and that will tell you. Now, you could take a brand new, fresh bike that a pro has, send them out there for a 45-minute moto at some of the toughest tracks. Well, they don't go 45 minutes anymore. They go 30 minutes and a couple of laps. But anyway, after that full day of racing, that bike is crap. All right? You will see the difference. You will know the difference. And that's the difference really in when you go to buy a bike. What kind of rider had it? Did an older guy have it where he took it out a couple times a year and went trail riding? Or did some 18, 20-year-old kid who was out there whomping on that thing every weekend all summer long? And that's how you'll know. And look, Mark, we're older guys. We're into the vintage bike scene. It's in some ways a little easier to tell on the old stuff. You're looking at a bike that's 50 years old. They get beat up pretty bad. Anybody else with a comment that wants to jump in on the Mark Bonadillo question, all right, which is how do you tell a low hour bike, 50 hours, 100 hours? Jump in there and tell us what you look for. I mean, it's not always easy. You could say, well, let's check the compression. You may not have that ability. You may not have that option to do that. Somebody's got a bike represented online. You know, they might even show you a picture of what the compression is, but you may not be able to do that. But that was a good question. And I want to thank you for sending it in, Mark. I want to thank AMSOIL for being a longtime supporter of the show. AMSOIL, and if you want to get a discount up to 25% off of AMSOIL products, go to theoilpeople.shop, amsoil.com. You will buy directly from Russell Waters. That's the oil people. Shopamsoil.com. You can buy directly from Russell Waters. And we do have some of the products back on. There they are. Got some of Susie's products. She's in the other room answering the phone. We got some of my favorite AMSOIL products back there on the wall. Okay. And Ted Boyko is off this week. We'll be getting some new expansion chamber segments in from Ted. In the meantime, let's hear from the International Motocross Museum. We'll be right back after this message. Susie might be back too. I'm sure she will be back, but she'll be back with an answer to the trivia.
I'm Heikki Mikkola. We will be right back.
That was perfect, Heikki.
Motocross struck America, coming from Europe like a lightning bolt, striking the hearts and minds of people all across the country and the world. Battles of intense racing and cutting rivalries with loyalty to brands and heroes intensified as years of blood, sweat, and dirt flew through the minds of those memories of champions as they wrestled their machines through almost impossible tracks. But where are those past champions? And where are their bikes? Terry Good, an ex-pro motocross racer, has made it his life mission to honor these heroes and the bikes they rode to stardom. We raced, we rode, we lived and breathed motocross. Go back in time and relive those moments, now preserved for the first time ever in the world's first museum dedicated to the history of motocross. Our new building is in the gate. Help us get a great start and you can be part of history. Go to internationalmotocrossmuseum.org and become a part of our team.
The International Motocross Museum is a not-for-profit 501c3 organization. Be sure to visit them online at the internationalmotocrossmuseum.org. Bikes are being moved into the building as we speak, and a lot of cool things are going on at the International Motocross Museum. Be sure to follow them online and also on their Facebook page as well. And let's jump back up here to, you know what I'm going to do? Area code 925-42195 is the number. The question was, who jumped on Marty Smith's former Monarch ride when Marty went to Honda? I asked you to call your ex. She might know. You didn't get that. I'm going to give you another hint right here. There's one more hint. Just take a look at that, and maybe you'll figure it out. All right? It's not Tony DeStefano and it's not Jimmy Weiner, but that's a big hint. He's been in the industry a long time. He still is. You don't know him that well as a racer, but you know him. Okay? What else we got going on here? Want to become a sponsor of the show? Just $249.95 a month. Space is limited. Contact me as soon as possible. Okay? Just one low price for everybody. $249.90, about 1 million people a month. And you know what? Maybe you don't want to reach 1 million people a month and you don't have $250. How about becoming a show supporter for just $50, a one-time fee? I'll get you a poster, a shirt in your size and style of your choice, and an apron so you can keep that shirt clean. $49.95. Here at Vintage Motocross Q&A, I want to thank Arma for being a sponsor of the show. $249.95. They jumped in. Arma, thank you so much for being a sponsor of Vintage Motocross Q&A. Now, the phone still isn't ringing.
No.
On the trivia.
No.
Guys. Great Scott, I can't believe you guys didn't get the answer to this question yet. I want to thank Bultaco East for being a supporter of the show. Thank you, Steve Grandis, and all your cool Bultaco stuff up there in Schenectady, New York. I just gave another big hint. All right. I also want to thank Sunrise Vapor Blasting, Mark Ferriester. Do a great job for us here on the show. Let's move on. Oh, you know what? I'm going to give you one more quick announcement, and Susie's going to be doing announcements a little bit later on in the show. Potomac Vintage Riders 2026, the York Swap Meet is happening January 11th. That's 8 to 3. I will be there. So will some other people. you better get a hold of Mike Slate or Bill Nazarod quickly. It sold out last year. Vendor spots sold out. There's, of course, the Potomac Vintage Riders dinner. Good food. Always a good guest for that as well. What's it worth? This is the part of the show where we ask you, the viewers at home, to guess how much you think this bike recently sold for, and we will give you 2 stickers, compliments of Vintage Motocross Q&A. The phone has finally rung, but we're going to go on right here. It is for a 1974 Husqvarna 400R. You tell me how much you think this bike recently sold for. We'll get you a couple of stickers. 1974 Husky 400WR was purchased by the seller in 2024 from its previous owner of 47 years, under whose ownership it was refurbished. Work is said to have been involved in repainting the 396cc two-stroke single and high-mount exhaust expansion chamber, powder coating the chromoly frame, re-chroming the cross brakes handlebars, and replacing the white plastic fenders. The fuel tank is painted orange with chrome knee panels, and additionally, the equipment includes a wide ratio 5-speed transmission, adjustable progressive shocks on the rear, a black solo seat, Magura controls, and a Gunnar Gasser side pull throttle. The 400WR is now offered at no reserve with the owner's manual and a clear Arizona title that goes along with it. Chrome alloy rims measuring 21 up front, 18 at the rear are laced to black conical hubs. They do look very, very nice. They do have Metzler Unicross tires on them as well. Pretty nice Metzler Unicross tires, right? Here's the levers and grips they were talking about just a little bit ago. It's 396 piston port, 2-stroke single. It's finished in black. It was factory rated at an amazing 40 horse. Features a 36 millimeter Bing Type 54 carburetor, Moto Plaid electronic ignition, magnesium case covers, a left side kickstarter, and a high mount expansion chamber with a perforated heat shield and baffle. The oil was changed in preparation of the sale. Who would have thunk? Anyway, there you have it, guys. Here's all the pictures one more time. All right, 1974 Husky WR400. It is in very, very nice condition, this bike. It does have a lot of new parts on it. I would not call it a restoration per se, but it really is a really, really nice bike, and I think it's a beautiful race bike, or could easily be transformed into a show bike. Susie, anybody calling yet?
No.
No, huh?
No.
All right.
Wrong answers.
Okay. Well, we're going to get back to that in just a second. Right now. Who got closest without going over?
Oh, hold on.
All right. Because, all right, I popped this thing up, but it's not really a big deal. Somebody must have put in their answer.
And I just lost
contact, connection?
I know I lost
the guy on the phone?
The feed.
The feed?
Of the numbers, yeah. So
all right, look, I'm going to handle it.
You're going to have to tell me.
I'll handle it from my end. Look, the bike sold for $4,200. Okay.
Oh, okay.
And
I only have
Rob Wilhelm put in $6,000. He's over. Somebody put in $6,500. Dennis Kenneth Klaus, $6,500. Wilhelm $6,000. Phil Liberty $63,000. $4,150. Bob's Discavage. Bob's Discavage. There it is right there. $4,150. Bob's Discavage, you are tonight's winner. You get yourself 2 Vintage Motocross Q&A stickers. Bob's Discavage, we are not strangers. I believe you have my phone number, or you could simply text me your address, and I will get you a couple of stickers, compliments of Vintage Motocross Q&A. All right, $4,200. I thought that was a really nice bike for $4,200, right? I thought so. All right, what else? I want to thank Mako, SoCal Mako. Gary Carson, SoCal, our newest sponsor of Vintage Motocross Q&A. You can contact them here at the number you see on the screen. Also, Gary's email is there, Gary@SoCalMako.com. What's that?
Someone's saying it was Chris Lucas.
At what, 4,200 exactly?
I don't know. Do you see his I can't see it, but do you see Chris Lucas's? They're saying.
I'm going to do 2 things here. What about Chris Lucas?
And what about Larry Butts? He answered the question, the trivia question.
I see that. Larry Butts, the answer is Scott Wallenberg. I know I'm hopping around here a little bit tonight, okay? The answer for the trivia is Scott Wallenberg. I would have preferred you called in, but you did not, and nobody else did either with the right answer, okay? So let's go back up here a second. I'm going to show you a picture of our trivia answer tonight. There he is, Scott Wallenberg. This is when he's on a DKW, his first trophy. He doesn't look much more than about, 13 years old here. Got number 13 on his bike. He's been in the business forever. I did an interview with Scott way back when his first job was selling advertising for a newspaper. And to this day, as the editor of Racer X, remember when I gave this to you before? Call your ex, maybe she knows. What about when I said, great Scott? I can't believe somebody doesn't know the answer. Anyway, you guys are killing me tonight.
I know. Well, I don't know what's going on.
Larry Butts, you're the winner of the poster. Get me your address. Bob Stascavich, you get yourself 2 stickers. Somebody said something about somebody else.
I don't know. Somebody said
Chris Lucas, if you got 4,200 or under, Gene Schweik, 4,000. McCook, 59.90. No, over. Chris Lucas, 4,200.
so. He was the winner.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but I already said that I would give it to Bob Stascavich. So you know me.
So then,
I will give it to Stascavich and Chris Lucas. Okay?
And why did Bob Bean say he saw the price?
Who?
He didn't see the price, did he?
How do I know what somebody else seen?
No, I don't know. I don't know. It's all crazy tonight.
All right, it's going good. I hope everybody's enjoying the show. Yeah, it's really natural, and things are just flowing pretty good here tonight, I think. Don't you? All right, we are going to. I'll tell you what I'd like to do.
Well, I have the
What, Sue?
viewer appreciation.
The viewer appreciation prize for tonight, which is a set of grips that look just like this from Preston Petty Products, goes to who? Susie, you're on camera.
It goes to Bob Bean.
Bob Bean? Bob Bean, you are tonight's viewer appreciation winner. Get me your address, and I will give it to Paul Stannard, and you will get a set of grips just like this.
Right.
Compliments of Preston Petty Products. Bob Bean, get me your mailing address. I'll get it to Paul Stannard. He'll get you a set of grips just like that. Okay? Moving on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Moving on, the Did You Know segment. The Did You Know segment is brought to you by Jeff Kokoski. Well, Jeff Kokoski is actually the one who puts it all together. And he's put in some great segments over the years. And this segment is now sponsored by SoCal Mako. Thank you, Gary Kortz. Your number is right here on the screen. Show is your email. This week at SoCal Mako, they've got fenders for all of your Makos from 74 to 1983. You got them in blue, orange works or opaque works. I'm sorry, red, yellow, white. They've got them for all the years. The price across the board is $69.95, except the opaque works for the 74 is $80. All right. Thank you, Gary Kortz. SoCal Mako. Gary is an authorized Mako only dealer. All right. Now, let's get on with this. Jeff Kokoski. What do you got for us tonight, Jeff? Anyone that has rebuilt the top end of a dirt bike is almost got to be familiar with the name Wiseco Piston. But did you know how the Wiseco Piston got started? No, I actually didn't know. Born in 1912, Clyde Weissman had developed an enthusiasm for racing powerboats in his 20s. By the time he had turned 28 in 1940, he found that nobody in the country was making high-performance pistons necessary to live up to the rigors of the boat racing that he was doing. So he decided to make his own pistons from his garage on the east side of Cleveland, Ohio. It wasn't long before other outboard marine racers recognized the value of the high-quality pistons. So the following year, Weissman started the Wiseco, not Wiseco, like some people pronounce it, Piston Company. Let's move on to picture 3, shall we? During those formative years and during the GIs from World War II came home craving speed and adventure, Wiseco expanded into growing motorsports industry and began making quality replacement pistons for motorcycles, snowmobiles, ATVs, and watercraft. Very interesting. Eventually, they would expand into growing automotive racing industry, but what made them so special? It was the process of how the piston. And I was talking about this with Ted Boyko just last week. Anyway, when it comes to turning raw metal alloys into useful things, 2 processes dominate: casting and forging. Sorry.
What happened?
Nothing.
Oh.
Both have their place. Casting is much simpler and less expensive production method. Aluminum ingots are melted down and molten aluminum is poured into molds. Then it's machined to remove excess material and create the proper tolerances. Cast pistons are completely acceptable for most daily driver machines, but when strength and fatigue resistance are priorities in a high RPM, abuse-prone application, then forging is the best method. Weisco pistons are made from forged aluminum, with the majority of the pistons that are made from cast aluminum. And we've got a little video right here showing what cast looks like, what forged looks like. This is what happens after the molecules return back to where they want to go in a forged piston as opposed to a cast piston. And here's what Jeff was explaining just a moment ago about the Weisco piston. Anyway, Weisco piston started out from a high-quality aluminum alloy bar stock. The bar stock is cut to approximately size cylinder slug to begin the forging process. All right? And then we're going to go back here for a second. Longer cylinders are for two-stroke engines, while shorter pucks are for the four-stroke engines. Okay? Next, the rough slugs are heated between 700 and 1,000 degrees, depending on the application, and they are placed in a hydraulic press. Very, very interesting. In the hydraulic press, huh? I think it's something like this. Yeah, there it is. A lot of good pictures from Jeff as well. Anyway, they put the press under tremendous pressure, and they create the basic piston shape by pushing it and into the receiving die. The press removes any possible porosity and pushes the alloy grains together tighter than what they would achieve in the casting alone. This is what gives the forging process its strength in the piston. That's what we were talking about here just a little bit ago. Anyway, after the forging operation, the piston moves to a heat treatment process, relieves stress from forging, further increasing the overall strength and the surface hardness. Finally, the piston is removed to the finishing process where CNC machines trim and polish the piston to exact tolerance of shape, and dome skirt is cut to the ring groove, oil holes, and wrist pin openings to create the final product. That's what you see right here after it goes from the puck into the machining into what the final product would look like. So, why aren't all pistons forged? Well, all pistons aren't forged because first, there's a whole lot more labor, and it's energy intensive to get them like that. So they're not, they are inherently more expensive. Cast pistons generally have more predictable thermal expansion and a better heat dissipation geometry. Forged pistons run hotter and expand differently, requiring longer warm-ups and periods like that, and you need a more exact clearance. So Weisco are designed for higher power, abusive race environments with greater strength and when durability is required. Now, let's go back to this picture right here. Clyde Weissman passed away in 1996 at the age of 83. A couple of years later, in 1998, the Dover Corporation acquired Weisco Pistons. And, oh, there he is, Mr. Weiss. All right. Anyway, the Pistons, along with Pro X Pistons, JE Pistons, creating a platform for performance motorsports called PMI. Over the years, PMI has required numerous other companies that cater to the high-performance motorsport and automotive enthusiasts. Okay, today Weisco still manufactures forged pistons and rings, along with bottom-end kits, valve trains, and clutch baskets. I want to thank Jeff Kokoski for sending in a great segment. I'm sorry I got a little bent out of shape there with some of my pictures and the order that they were in. Okay, but I think you got the picture, and I think you got the pistons, and you understand what's going on with forged pistons and the clearances. We just talked about this last week in the expansion chamber segment with Ted Boyko. All right, we are going to take a little break, and we will be back with more vintage motocross Q&A, including the motocross Fox van, Susie with announcements, and some other really cool stuff as well. Right now, let's hear from our sponsor, Full Circle Racing.
I'm Gary Wilson, and you're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A.
I get asked often, what's the most important thing on Clunker? Answer simple, it's me. That's why I use Full Circle Racing wheels prepped by Tom McAllister. So should you. Watch this and learn why. When racing vintage motocross where suspension is very limited, your wheels can be the difference between winning or serious injury. We chose to run full circle racing wheels because of the super high quality materials and the heavy duty spokes used. Prepped by Tom McCallister, I have the confidence on the track to push way harder through the rough stuff and the bigger jumps, knowing my wheels are going to stay under me. Hey, Clunker may be 50 years old, but his wheels are brand new, and yours should be too. Call Tom McCallister at Full Circle Racing today.
I want to thank Ben's Vintage Mini Bike Podcast for being a supporter of our show. Ben Thomas, thank you so much. Be sure to catch their podcast. It's on the first Sunday of every month. But if you go over to Ben's Vintage Mini Bike Podcast page, you'll be able to find out more about what is happening there and some of the really cool shows that he puts on every Sunday night. This Week in Motocross History is brought to you by Racer X. And this is a part of motocross history, but it's a little bit different tonight. The last couple of weeks, actually the last couple of months, you have heard me talk about the Northern California Motocross Reunion that happened this past weekend. And it happened down at De La Vega Park. Billy Grossi was there, and a couple of other people as well. Here's a picture of Billy, in fact. Also, Goat Brecker was on the scene. A lot of the motocross Fox guys, including Dana Waxman, Jeff Fox himself, Pat Richter was also there. Who else was there? Jim Turner, two-time Canadian champ, also spent some time in Europe. And Larry Wosick. We had Larry Wosick up on the stage. We did a little interview with him and a lot of other people as well. Some guys who were indirectly involved with the Fox brand. Steve Simons and Danny Magoo's longtime friend and mechanic, Billy DiPrato. They were also there. Now, one of the things that really caught my eye was this. And what it looks like is the Fox van. Mm-hmm. Doesn't it look like the Fox van? All right. It's got the stickers on it. It's definitely a 1977 Dodge. And it really caught a lot of people's eye. And they had to walk around it and look inside and do all sorts of things to see if this was the real McCoy or wasn't it. Well, I caught up with the owner of the van, and he was nice enough to send me a video on it. So let's get a look at this, and then we'll talk a little bit more about it after we get a look at it.
Really?
There it is, the inside of the van. Got some motocross Fox jerseys in there. Authentic, 1977. And look at the paintwork on the side. Look at the fading on that work and how the rust is around the top. Definitely the real deal, and somehow preserved in incredible condition. Go around the back of the van, and inside there was a lot of cool motocross Fox gear, and some of it will be put up on the Road to Recovery's auction site. So you go over to Road to Recovery, and you'll find out when some of these auctions are coming up. There's some leather Fox pants in there, as well as some jerseys, some helmets, and some other really cool gear. All right. And you'll be able to buy that stuff, and all that money goes to the Road to Recovery. Now, here's another picture of that van. Let's face it, guys. I know a little bit about paint. I know a little bit about restoration. I know a little bit about a few things. I could not tell until I got up and just about touched the side of this van that this was actually vinyl. This was a replica put together by John Nunez, and he built it, put it all together. He's got the plate on there. If you want to know more about John Nunez and some of the really cool stuff that he does, you can catch up with him on Facebook at Moto X Fox. That's John Nunez, and he got some other additional stuff over on his Instagram page, Old School Fox Gear. In fact, you could look down there in the corner. You'll see a video. I want to thank John Nunez for being a guest up there on the stage this weekend at the NorCal reunion. We talked about that van. We talked about a few other things as well. And we're going to be doing some additional things between Nunez and Motocross Fox and myself here on the show. Okay. But right now, Susie.
Yes.
We've got the announcements coming up, and the announcements, Susie, tell us about that.
Oh, okay. The announcements are brought to you by the International Motocross Museum. Be sure to visit them online at internationalmotocrossmuseum.org. The first one is a Moto Barn event. It happens this weekend, October 25th, an annual Moto Barn event in Ruther Glen, Virginia. It begins at 10 a.m. and goes until 4 p.m. with food and beverages, as well as a bike show. Special guests include Warren Reed, Steve Wise, Barry Higgins, and many more. That's the Moto Barn at 16238 County Line Road in Ruther Glen, Virginia. The next one you don't want to miss is a York Swap Meet, Sunday, January 11th. The annual York Swap Meet takes place at the York Fairgrounds in Pennsylvania. Reserve your vendor space now, as well as entering the bike show early. The night before is the Potomac Vintage Riders End of Year Awards ceremony. For more information, contact Mike at mikewslate@gmail.com. Then we have Crowder Creek Church Car Show and Fundraiser, November 1st. The Crowder Creek Church fundraiser is happening. That's on Saturday, November 1st from 10 to 2. This is a car, truck, motorcycle, and tractor show. Enter your vehicles early. Food is available. And last but not least, we have the 26th annual Nesco Dirt and Bike Swap Meet. This is a 2-day event happening on November 1st and 2nd. Vendor spaces are available for $40 per day, or for 2 days it's $70. For more information, contact Joe Balazzo at 609-561-1570, or he's on Facebook. You can catch him there. That's it for me.
I'm so proud of you, Susie.
Thank you.
You did an absolutely spectacular job.
Thank you.
And a really, really good one. Now, there was one thing that I forgot to mention, and but I'm going to get to it right now. That is the Kurt Leverton Memorial Ride. Okay, that happens on Sunday, okay, and that happens on 7451. It looks like Nixon Street, Indianola, Iowa. All right, the Kurt Leverton Memorial Hare Scramble that happens at the farm in Indianola, Iowa. The gates open at 7. There are event fees. There's things from mini bike classes to big bike classes to trail ride. They even got something for the electric bikes. Okay. There is a Facebook page, facebook.com/DMR Riders or DM Riders. Okay. And that is for the Kurt Leverton Memorial. Kurt Leverton, great guy, longtime sponsor of Vintage Motocross Q&A, and we were sorry to see him go as a sponsor. We're also, of course, sorry to hear of Kurt's passing. That wraps it up for this week's Vintage Motocross Q&A. I want to thank our sponsors, okay, Racer X, the International Motocross Museum, Motion Pro, Bultaco East, SoCal Mako, Arma, Preston Petty Products, Full Circle Racing, and Amsoil. And if you want to be a sponsor, get a hold of me. Just $250 a month. You'll reach about 1 million people a month. Not a bad deal. All right. Susie, great job on the announcements. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. I got to he scratched my leg so bad last week. Gino, come on, boy. Okay. And there. All right. Calm down. Calm down. There's the Gino monster right there. You love me? Okay. You love Rocco? Where's Rocco? Go get Rocco. Go get him. That's it for Vintage Motocross Q&A. I am Joe Abbate. Thank you for joining me again. Don't forget to keep sharing the show. And thanks for dropping in. We'll see you next time on Vintage Motocross Q&A.